Welcome to another episode of Moped Outlaws. I'm so excited today.
Okay.
We have as our guest Michaell Magrutsche. And I was expecting Greg to jump in right there, but since he isn't, we're going to start with playing some of Michael's music. This is a short excerpt, I think, from a longer song. This is just a bit of a song called "Dance of Joy" from Michael's SoundCloud page. Check this out.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's definitely got a
for somebody without an education, it's good. You know?
yeah.
I'm neurodiverse, I'm dyslexic and dysgraphic, and I repeated 3 classes in my life, and because I couldn't handle schools, and I couldn't fit into systems because of my neurodiversity.
So where were you born?
I was born in Vienna in Austria, and there I had this traumatic thing that I couldn't fit in systems. There were much more 40 years ago. It was more systematic over there, and it was free. America was free, and 40 years ago, and I said I didn't feel like that's why I moved, but I said I got to see America. I went through all America. When I was 18, like everybody does, like Americans go to Europe, go all over Europe. So I did the whole thing reverse. And then I said, I need to work here. I need to find, it wasn't enough, just going from Boston to LA, that's not enough, so you have to look at it. And then I started working here. Yeah.
Where did you land first?
I landed, the funny thing, I thought that Laguna Beach was southern LA. It was basically like, I thought it was just a district in LA, and it's like an hour, but I had no perception of distances, even though I was here. I didn't know where was what. And then I got to get a job as a butler and manager of a house, and did that. And that's how I got. And then I created a UHF station company with my friend here that I met after a year and a half. And then I went all over, and that was always artistic things. I managed a magician to bring him over to Austria. Then I did a television company that did documentaries. And then I worked with Robert Evans, who did The Godfather. I co-produced with him, but no education, everything. And then I was City Arts Commissioner of Newport Beach. No education. So, so always everything auto attack, everything,
I just watched the movie about Robert Evans that's been on television recently about making The Godfather, and I noticed that you have a screenplay, Dangerous Blood.
Mhm.
And I wanted to know more about that movie and how are you still actively trying to get it made? And can you give us kind of
I
what it's
haven't.
about?
I just put it out there. It was in pre-production with Robert Evans before he died, and then he died. So he's not anymore in pre-production. So I'm not contractually bound to anything. And I just made a book out of it and just put it on Amazon. You know, if people find it, they find it. If don't, they don't. I'm not.
What's
You know, it's the story is about brothers.
Mhm.
Because I think I was always so, you know, I was so what do you call it? Confused because because the systems say, government and systems say, oh, family first, family's everything. But I've never seen so many people that got hurt or shamed or damaged by their family. And I said, what I experienced myself part was your friends would never do, your acquaintances would never do what your family would do, because that entitlement, because your family, oh, screw him, he's part of family, I could just take his car away or do this or that, take his girlfriend away. And it was about the girlfriend. So I wrote this about a very rich family. They had everything. They were the jewelers to the English crown, and they had everything, right? And this girl and the older brother just dumps that girl, and the younger brother kind of finds her and then goes out of here with her, and their love made themselves think, and all of a sudden she's pretty and she's like unbelievable. And then the big brother gets so angry because he tries to, and so that it becomes a thriller, really. It's in between. That's why Evans liked it. It's in between love story and Fatal Attraction.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. I would love to read it. I'll go looking for it here after we're finished and check it out for sure.
Yeah, I sent you a thing. Just I sent you a PDF. I think you could just read it if you want. Yeah,
beautiful.
Right.
Thank you.
You too, if you want. Great.
Yeah, Greg's also been a movie producer, and I have a script I've written, so we all share this aspiration about cinema.
Yeah,
we love film. So, do you think Vienna influenced you as a creative?
I mean, I have talked about that before, but you grow up when you grow up at my time. See, it's always what time you're growing up there. So 40, 50 years ago, what happened was, like, the background noise was classical music, literally. I mean, you walked on the street and there was a door open and people were listening to classical music, but it was so narrowcast then. Now you don't hear that at all, but it was like that. So so I didn't even consider classical music. I mean, I considered Hendrix, Led Zeppelin music. I mean, I knew it was music, but it's like, okay, everybody speaks that language. It wasn't a different language. All of a sudden, wow, that's a language, and it's like food. If you eat always the same food and then you get a real good food, a steak or something, that's, it's different. And that's what's for me. Even though classical is a very high, art form.
Yeah.
But what happened? All of a sudden. But then there's Led Zeppelin, and there is Rolling Stones, and there's Beatles, and there's all these groups, and Janis Joplin. I mean, look at that voice. Where's that voice coming from? And then all of a sudden, you hear the first reggae, that rhythm you never comprehended. All of a sudden, lively up yourself. The Life album. I mean, I see the cover still. It was such an experience, because it was artwork and the music, and it played together, and it was just very fulfilling. I would say that was very fulfilling. This newness of music and whatever, but it influenced me to an extent like that. I can listen to classical music and I like it. You know, I don't have to start listening into it. Jazz, I had to listen into it.
So where did your own seeds of creativity, do you think, get planted from?
Because I couldn't. Okay, so it's like for every one of us, right? When you want to fit in, so first you're born in a system in the hospital, then you go in a system, get baptized, then you go in the system to go to school, and in all those systems you want to fit in, because your DNA, you have a fingerprint. There's 8 billion people. Everybody has a different fingerprint. Everybody has a different DNA. So you want to fit in. We are inclusive. We are not, oh, there's white people, there's black people, there's woman, man. We're first of all humans. Then the subcategory, different colors, different whatever, genders. And I think that not fitting in, made it for me harder than for anybody else, that unless you fit it in. That not fitting in made me more respond to art. So when I know you guys, when you were young, right, and then you saw a film and it makes you, oh my God, that guy understands me. You could relate. That's why I'm saying stories and podcasts as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It helps us to relate to each other and actually lift, because we own that we are the species. We are not saying we're not from nature. We say, oh my God, and it's so fulfilling, right? The success in human is the fulfillment, where the success in systems is hitting the goal, hitting the quarter, surpassing the quarter, launch that company. And then it's fulfilling. And fulfilling is after the union, after sex, right afterwards, that feeling of I'm okay, everything is not an hour later, but like right after the orgasm is that fulfilling feeling. And I have that now. I have that now with you guys. I meet you guys. It's exciting. I haven't met you, and it's exciting. And that's why I'm chasing. And I chased that because I couldn't fit in. I chased that more than anybody else.
Did you do it as a child in Vienna, or is it something that came to be here in the United States?
I did in Vienna. I was always creative. When I was like, when we had a yard. And when I was a little kid, I could run around 10 perhaps or so. I created a fort with wood. I always wanted. And then I had my parents had a basement, and I made a disco out of it because I got into music. Then I did, I got the lights, so I go, oh, a UV light. Oh my God, a UV light. Can you believe that? And so all this stuff, it was like, so it really evoked a tremendous passion, and it was fulfilling, because then people came over and they felt the same way. They liked the music, they liked the thing. And then I produced fashion shows. I started as a DJ and then produced them. Then I sold tape out of my trunk, and I got money for it. It's like, when an adolescent all of a sudden makes some extra money, it was I didn't throw newspapers, but I sold tapes out of my trunk. And then I got into advertising, and I was not aware of all that. I mean, this is now retrospect 2020. I was just living day by day, like we all did when we were adolescents. We just want to fit in, be part of it, be okay to be us, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like you became the center of the solar system, of your own solar system in a way.
Exactly.
And you began to magnetize people to fit in with you.
Yeah.
Does that feel right?
I was always a leader. I was a born leader, but I could have not been. See, I'm not saying, oh my God, I'm all that,
No, but it just happened because you followed this aspect of self and of desire for beauty. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And for aesthetics, for music aesthetics, the painting aesthetics. And I like to go to museums. I like to go because I couldn't do sports. I was sick. I was a sick child. So I had asthma and eczema and all that stuff. So I couldn't do sports. So I went to museums, and I was literally, the universe forced me to look at art. And that's what I really feel. That's why I am a creativity awareness educator, because that is there's so much in art and creation, and I always say that example to podcasters. I say they can say this is the absolute best podcast, this is the absolute worst podcast, but they cannot take away that you guys did the podcast.
That's right.
Part they can never take away. They can never take that part. They can say, you gotta this, you are nothing. The whole world could say that, and you could shame yourself and say no, but you did it. That's so powerful that you did it. It's not important that you have millions of listeners or you were successful or failure. It's you did it, and that you need to milk. You milk that moment that we have right now, you know?
So I was contemplating this a little bit last night because Mark mentioned that you did a project. How many art pieces in
300
days?
paintings in 3 days. Micro paintings, the imagination book.
Okay, yeah. So I was contemplating that, and I appreciated the spark of energy. What was communicated to me is we are creative. Anyone can create anything at any time. Just do it. And then I started contemplating the artists that I have a deep resonance with, like Michelangelo and Frida Kahlo and Vincent van Gogh, and I just forgot her name, the famous desert woman. Anyway.
Oh, I know who you mean.
Yeah,
I'm not going to. I know
O'Keeffe.
O'Keeffe. George O'Keeffe.
O'Keeffe. Yeah. All right. And I was thinking about these individuals, and from what I know of them, they had a passion to go deeper and deeper and deeper into their creative energy. They wanted to be a master of it, in essence.
I don't know if that's a master. I think it's my whole goal is, I have one word. What's your goal? I said, I have no goals, but my goal is awareness, because awareness trumps everything. Once you're aware, you cannot take it away. So you're aware, you get the podcast, you did it. You can't take that away. Nobody can take that away. So and you're not forgetting it either. You can go an MBA and be a doctor or whatever, and you can forget half of the stuff because you're a specialist for some little part of that system. But the awareness that you get in being a doctor, in dealing with people, that is the power. And I think they wanted not to be master. I think they just that's why 90% of artists exist on the poverty level, which was the thing of my book. That was the spark from my book, the last one, Smart of Art. Is I cannot believe that. Why? The highest form of creation, art. So it's not made, it's not be creative and make another iPhone or another Nike shoe, but create because for creation's sake. So you get drawn to a canvas, and then you see the color purple, and you make a little purple thing. And then all of a sudden, oh wow! And then the black comes, and then white comes, and then you create that stuff. And there is a pivotal moment all of a sudden, and I think that's why artists are so addicted to it, to their lifestyle, because that's the magic. When the pivot point comes, where the painting takes over, you couldn't do. So, for example, you have red, and you really want to use that red. You have too much red. And it doesn't matter. It wouldn't fit in that painting that you just did. And that is so powerful because you created life. And what that happened, it's its own energy that has life. And I think that is the reason why we are so blinded as humans and believe that we created New York, we created Singapore, that we created this shiny object symptom, that we believe we are God, and we don't fit really in nature, and we don't fit really in systems, and we're teeter-tottering between being born in our systems and being part of nature. So our instincts are on nature, right? But I think we are lost, and that's what we are lost right now. That's why all this stuff opens up.
So how do you take what you're saying, and then how does that relate to like Vincent van Gogh?
Okay, because what it does is, you said, do they want masters? And I think no, they want more of that experience, of that they want more of going. They want not to be a copier, like not to just have a good skill. You need a skill too, but the skill is not important. It is what happens in the process.
I think the skill was important, but here the master may be getting in the way. Like I think master was a byproduct of their drive.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
and they did want to hone their skill to be able to create the vision that was inside them.
I'm not saying you're wrong, Greg. I'm
So
not saying you
I
are
want to
wrong.
offer something here.
Yeah,
In the pursuit of that feeling in the
yeah,
moment of the creation is
yeah,
the connection with the ecstatic.
exactly.
And when you live in that space, like you do, Michael, of
Yeah,
wanting to enter into relationship with the ecstatic aspects of life,
yeah,
the path unfolds towards mastery without the intention necessarily of mastery. It's
exactly.
the intention to be
Perfect.
connected to the impulse. And mastery is a byproduct of following that thread, of becoming so, like you say, it's you make that red painting and you realize, oh, there's too much red, and so the next painting has less red, or you try to even
Yeah,
have more red to see if
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
answer. And pretty soon, from all of the relationship you have to how it feels to be creating, you begin to have a relationship with the emotional grounding, the emotional spectrum of what
Mm-hmm.
art does for you. And that opens a portal for everyone else who sees, hears, touches, listens to the art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why I said it's not. I don't feel it was the mastery, because mastery is a system word.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mhm.
like so. I thought I think it's the experience of, and that's why people. I think uh, the people of 97% of artists, they can't go back in the system, because they're addicted to this discovery, which every human is. That's why when your whole life works, what do? You screw it up, because you need to expand. You're always expanding. You're always challenged, and you're always expanding. So a billionaire or a beggar, it's both about the money. You always want to expand. So a living being, there's no living being that doesn't, that doesn't expand, that is not challenged. I mean, bacteria is challenged, a virus is challenged, an elephant and an ant are challenged, and so you're living and you're challenged. But then if you say you need to sacrifice for that, that's a wrong thing. That's a system condition. You don't have to sacrifice for anything. You can just be you and find you, because you are one of 8 billion, and you have to find you. That's the way of life, I think. That's the journey. The journey is to find you, because there's no purpose for life. Is it, what am I of the whole,
This might be a good spot to ask you about the essence of art energy system.
Mm-hmm.
What is that, and how does that work for you and others?
uh, the art system. So yeah,
Yeah.
when I so I told you the spark was, the inspiration was why I'm 97% poor. And what I found was, even my perception was, the art world is this mixture of human and system. And basically, I found that the art world, as we know it, as we perceive it, from art history to everything, is all about the product. It's very, and it's only about the artists like Van Gogh, or to the top 0.5%. Yeah, it's about because they're so famous. So they say, why is he so famous? Who was he? But in general, it's all about the product, the song, the painting, the poem,
The
the
book.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, movie. You get an Oscar, you get system accolades, but it's all a system. And I separated that in the last book and said it's all about the creation. And actually, Rick Rubin just brought out a book about the creative act, and
Mhm.
and I'm not done yet. I'm reading it. He sent me one, and I'm reading it. So I'm in the middle of reading it, but it is basically the Bible. It's the Bible of that. It's like mine is very relatable to artists. To artists that to separate those two. And I think in general, it's very important to separate system relevance and human relevance. Because when you know, okay, might lose my job, that is system relevant. I mean, it's driven humanly relevant because you're conditioned, you're dying if you don't work. But you're losing your job is system relevance. But human relevant is like you cut yourself, you need to take care of that. Your child is sick, but what do we feel in that thing? We feel like we should go to work, even though our child is sick, and we should never even think about that. We should be clear: human is priority, and not feeling guilty. So that's what I think. That's what I found in the last book. And the art to be an artist is to know about creation, that the creative act, that is the most important. It's not about the product, because what I discovered is that when you create, so let's say I'm doing it on the example of a podcast. So somebody of you two guys has the inspiration, I'm gonna make a podcast, and you do it, and then you think about it, and then you keep thinking about how am I gonna do this. So you're talking to your non-physical self, like when you sleep, you're talking to your non-physical self and have this thing. So what is the color that I use for that painting? Okay, this, and it says yellow, and then you put yellow on it. So in your communication, basically you create the podcast. The podcast is the product of your conversation. So this podcast is in this case from two people, the conversation that you guys had with your non-physical, this is the product. So when I create a painting, a music, or whatever, whatever you see that song that you played was a communication, because I could have used anything else. I could have used violins. I could have used oboe. I could use flute, and I didn't, because that was not the conversation. And I think to clear an artist, the differentiation of an artist versus somebody that just creates is the artist does it all the time and gets really clear. And the clearer you get, the easier it is for other people, because we're all interconnected, to recognize that. So you recognize that conversation in you, and that's why you pay for a bus squad millions of dollars, because he was really clear. He was screwed up. He peed on his paintings. He did all this stuff, but when he was painting, he felt good. It pushed him back in that, like you said, Mark, in that oneness, in that where you're aligned in the moment. And obviously when you're aligned in the moment, that's where the stuff comes in.
The communication can happen with the divine inspiration in whatever format you see that. Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say it. Like, I would say it's just you're aligned with your non-physical, because you're just here in physical form, but you're aligned with your non-physical, and there you have access to everything, because in spirit world, you're perfect. It's just to align to the physicality is where we get all.
We get distracted by all of the performative aspects of system. And what art does is it reminds us of the conversation. And then we can connect back to ourselves and back to that higher conversation through the lens of the artist and through the lens of the art.
Yeah. Art is a tool, is a master tool to bring you into what limitless humanity means.
So how good are you at the art of comedy?
Art of comedy? I don't understand jokes, but I think I'm a funny guy, but I don't understand.
I think that's exactly. I think you're on to something there.
Yeah, because when people tell me jokes, I don't get it because of my neurodiversity or something. I cannot even decipher. Once I understand, I see the funny in it,
Right. But being funny has nothing to do with crafting necessarily a joke. Although great comedians craft amazing jokes, right? But it's really like the same thing. It's connecting with the idea of funny in the moment, in the conversation that gets us outside of, our common limitations and the things that we think we're stuck with.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. And,
Yeah.
you know, Greg's done stand-up frequently, and I've tried stand-up occasionally. Have you ever tried anything like that?
No, because I think it's because of the neurodiversity. I think
So
that's,
you just get super nervous if you were.
No. I can't prepare. When I'm only good in the moment. If I would have prepared for this, I would stutter.
Yeah.
If I had an agenda, I wouldn't work.
Got it. So
work
it's the
for me.
goallessness that makes it work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'd be perfect for improv.
Go ahead. Yeah. You want to start something? Let's try it. No, let's try it. I don't know. I have no clue about it, but I jump in right away, you know?
Well, I love that. I love that. Oh my God. Well, I want to say in Dance of Joy, it sounds like there were no guitars harmed in the making of that music.
Yeah. Yeah. That is what it was. That was at that time what it was. I didn't want to have any guitars in it. But you know, I think I have some adversity against with guitars, because I learned for 2 years classical guitar, and I probably could play 5 chords now. I mean, I literally have not learned anything. And then I said, okay, I'm not good because I wasn't aware of it, but I said, I can't just hand-eye coordination. I couldn't do it. And then, and I said, okay, it's not my thing. I love music, but I'm not going to have an instrument. And then my friend we were at a party or something, and he says, hey, the percussionist stopped. Can you just tinkle around? I mean, you know music, you handle it. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I say yes. And then it was like, it blew up like insanity. It's just, I played with groups, I was invited. I did music thing. It was awesome as a percussionist. And my thing was timbales and and the cowbell. I drove a lot with the cowbell or clave. I drove a lot of, you know, I did a lot of Afro American rhythms and.
Well, and the clave rhythm itself is really interesting rhythm. Did you learn the science of that?
2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you syncopate it longer, then you even, you know,
it starts to expand. The sentence, the conversation changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's a lot of space. I love space play in music.
Mm. So what role does music still play in your life now? Is it a small role? You still doing it here and there, or not at all?
It got smaller. It got smaller because I somehow found myself, you know, and how to be part of humanity. So it wasn't just that, it was the expansion from that. And it goes up and down. I get so much out now. I mean, you know, I did 5 books. I'm done with, I'm editing the 6th, and I have a 7th already, you know, where am we? So I have so much fun in my creativity in writing that, that I listen to music all the time, but I don't play right now. My expression is, I think, more important that I write stuff. For me, I feel more, and there's so much good music out there anyway. I mean, I'm not saying there's no space for me, but I think my thought process of how I explain things, because I was forced out of the system, I could never have an education or anything, is so interesting that it gives so many people seeds and a different perspective to look at something in a different way, that I think it's more rewarding for me, you know, to allow that through. And it just comes right now. All this stuff comes through to me. It's like your music. If it comes through, obviously you make music. I mean, if music would come through me right now or painting, I would paint. So there was a time where I literally turned down jobs because I wanted to stay and paint. And I said, no, it just too much comes in, and I too much enjoy, and I'm so fulfilled doing it, like 300 paintings in 3 days. I mean, I somehow got, you know, can I do that? you know. And it was the awareness that I was chasing. The awareness I was chasing of, because I thought completely wrong that I think I'm going to have 50 paintings perhaps, or 20. I mean, literally, I thought, let's just see how it goes, you know. And all of a sudden I found that the best paintings were the last paintings, because I opened that channel so up, like I said, with the conversation of non-physical and physical, that as more and more came through, more and more came through, and all of a sudden, the last one were the best.
Reggae music has a really deep connection to plant medicine through cannabis. And I'm wondering what role various substances have played in your creative life. Are you comfortable talking about that?
Absolutely comfortable, but I couldn't, because with my neurodiversity, it would
be disabling, not enhancing.
Yeah, it wouldn't enhance.
Got it.
The only thing that enhances is breathing methods and being in a moment. That's the only thing. And that took a long time to condition myself to be in a moment, because my mind was ADHD everywhere.
So is that Wim Hof or meditation, classical meditation?
It's a part of Wim Hof. It's more Buteyko. Buteyko is and also it helps the asthma. It helps the other stuff. So Patrick, what's his name? Patrick. I love this guy. I want to give him a plug. Patrick. He's so good. He's good. Wim Hof is.
If you send it to us, we'll include it in the text with the show.
Yeah. The Wim Hof I like, but Wim Hof is just hitting the wall too much for me.
Yeah.
It's like hitting the wall. It's we need to be gentle with ourselves.
Yeah.
And stress the body. Obviously, I'm like fasting and all that stuff, but I think it's not just and that all helps you getting in the moment. Be self, because when you're hungry, you have to be in your body. You just can't escape. It's to bring the stuff in. It's not to move out. And for me, it's 10 times extreme than you. But because if I would do, let's say, some work for fill out a form, it takes me 4 times as long to comprehend it, just to bring myself in to comprehend that stuff.
And it would probably take me 4 months to do 300 paintings.
That's why we are not the same. See, this is the big lie, the system lie. Oh, look at the coaches, what they say. Oh, I can do it. You can do it. No, success is not defined. If success was a formula, don't you think everybody would have figured it out by now and we will be all successful? We are not. We're so blind. We have, advertising, and everybody's in marketing and advertising. And nobody's aware. That's why I say awareness trumps everything. That we are literally it's 1% of our GDP is advertising and marketing. And it hasn't changed. It's not a growth industry. It hasn't changed in the Second World War. See, the end of Second World, it hasn't changed. That means if you guys have a car, let's say you are the Mercedes, and I can just say, you create a Mercedes, Greg, and Greg, you have Kia, and I'm going to give you all the advertising, and you pay all the advertising. I'm taking away from you the Mercedes, and what kind of living is that? What kind of value for humanities that we just try to manipulate each other to go from, you have a car, now you buy another car in the delusion of you're successful.
Right.
You're not expanding the market. You're not adding anything to the human potential. Like here we do. This is human potential. This is expansion. This is new people, new combination of people exchanging, sharing stories at the campfire. That's why that's a sacred place, the campfire, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a human potential. So you can never have more exploration in the human potential,
One of the things that Greg and I used to do when we were younger, we would hang out this place called the Boho House, and we had a whole bunch of friends who were into poetry and art and drinking
Mhm.
wine and stuff. And we would do these things where we would do poetry rounds where we would write a line, give the book to the next person, they would write a line, and then we'd pass it around the
Awesome.
circle. And then at the end, we would read the whole poem.
Awesome. I love that.
So
God,
let's
it's
try it
magic.
now. Let's
It's
try it
simple.
now.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
Okay, I'll
Absolutely.
start. Michael, you go. Then Greg, you start. You go, and then I'll go.
Okay.
We'll go around 3 times and see what we do.
But who's writing with us?
Oh, we're
You
not
gotta
writing.
type
We're
it
just
in.
going to do it as a voice,
Okay.
poetry.
Okay.
In the time of hoping, we sit contemplatively. Go, Michael.
By the orange flame of a fire pit with stars that twinkle to our contentment.
And the blanket of the universe drifts gently down as we drift off to the dream of our reality.
The cool air of companionship flows over the skin of our connection in the bright ignition of our dreaming.
Dreams so sweet as a chirp of a bird. Sitting on a ledge in the early morning.
A spider late for work awakens us, running across our nose, and our eyes open to morning dawn dew.
And scene. Thank you
Beautiful.
both for being willing to try that. I
But
love
if
that.
you're not, can you imagine if we have not prepared that? What comes out in a moment? It's insane.
I'd say it's more sane, right? It's more
It is
sane.
more sane.
Yeah.
It's more sane than insane. Insane is when you have to copy. Oh, it didn't sound like Edgar Allan Poe. It's just
Yeah. I'm getting chills right now on my skin.
Yeah.
This brings me so much joy.
And see, the thing is, we say magic, but magic is not magic. Magic is things that science has or we have not deciphered yet. Whatever is not deciphered yet. So you have to first recognize it as magic, and then your awareness, your consciousness is resolving it. Anyway. But magic is not like, oh, it's a bad thing, it's this curse, it's whatever. It's just that curse and shit can only exist in systems. That can only, in the spiritual system, because it's a condition, because you have to believe that the magic, do you get a bad curse, and that's over years, over generations conditions.
Yeah, our thoughts create our reality.
I have a question. I was talking with my youngest daughter last night about energy, and like you've referred many times to the non-physical. Have you experienced a non-physical energy that did not have your highest intention
No.
held? No. Okay.
No. I think it's a perception. I think everything is in the highest. So, for example, if I have asthma and allergies and I have neurodiversity, those are adversities that you could say it was this, it was that, and it's kind of blaming. It would be blaming, saying, okay, I was cursed because I had asthma and allergies. Ultimately, the universe is always perfect. Nature is perfect. And this is what we're not seeing. We're not seeing, we are blinded by ourselves and seeing, oh, we are not a part of nature. We are species of nature. And in nature, the rules are, you exist, you are worthy. There is no curses in freaking nature. Okay? There's no dark energy. There's a dark lion. A lion hunts because he's hungry, And then the gazelle is up next to him because it knows he has eaten. He's not going to kill the whole herd of all gazelles and leave them dead and say, okay, now you have something for tomorrow.
Only buffalo hunters did that in the West. Only European buffalo hunters did that.
Exactly. Exactly. You just do one and eat it, and that's it. And it's okay to do that. It's just, that's why I think it's really, we haven't figured out how water, we cannot duplicate. If you're going to go, we need to admit we don't know nothing. We know no shit. Yeah. We need to admit that to ourselves. And that, because then we start wondering, we cannot replicate, and science cannot explain how water comes from a tree 100 yards up into the leaves against gravity, because that's gallons and gallons of water. And now I'm asking you, and we believe everything, and they can change DNA. I'm not against vaccine, but I'm saying, you really dumb shits think you know how to change DNA, and everybody should just participate and be happy with it? We can't. We figure out, oh, now aspirin, the whole thing blows up with aspirin. That aspirin is not what it really is, and it's not good, and there's no proof. They just said that. Remember in spinach, right? Popeye the Sailor Man. They found out there's no iron in spinach. That was a mistake from a scientist that did a decimal thing. We are flawed. We make mistakes, but we have 7 senses, or 6 or 7 senses to interact with each other. And therein is the power. It's not, what I systemically create or how much system value I have or whatever. I mean, think about the podcast. Like, wouldn't you want every podcast to say, I would want to have Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos on my podcast, only because you get the listenership and the viewership. What do you think? We know more about them, of the stars. What would you unveil? Because they're not going to give you their human irrelevancy. They give you their system irrelevancy and say, I did another billion in this and this and this. But that's a game. That's the Monopoly game that we all choose to play, right?
Well, for Greg and I, it's Dave Chappelle. That's who we want to get on the show. But it's actually because we want to talk to him.
Yeah, yes. But Dave Chappelle is also very aware. Otherwise, he would never be that good comedian, because it's awareness. If you cannot be a comedian, I mean, look at Seinfeld. Idiosyncrasies that he thrives on. I mean, he's the god, and he really takes it as a science. And that is, to me, that is expanding human potential. He wants to know why it works. Not that he's taking the accolades and said, I'm the greatest comedian. No. And guess what? He walks the streets of New York. Why? Because he knows if he loses the connection to humans, he has no material. Yeah. He has no awareness. The awareness comes with the experience of other humans.
Yeah. And so when science thinks it figures out the answer, that's when it stops being relevant. Exactly. Because that's when curiosity ends. And curiosity is what science is ultimately, not the conclusion, but the curiosity.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's the way, it's the journey that you discover something. Yeah. And then you get deeper. You discovered it. Now you know. So how is it contextual with all the other stuff?
Wow. I want to ask you a question that's going to kind of take a left turn from where we are, because this feels like a good pause moment. What was it like being part of the organizing or the art commission in Laguna Beach?
It was really disappointing, very disappointing. But it was
Newport Beach, right?
Yeah, Newport Beach. Yeah.
Newport. Okay, pardon me.
Yeah, but I know the people on Laguna Beach too. It's what it is. It's the making systemic art systemic. And I try to do it from a human aspect. I said, if we take tax money from people, we are representative as a politician, I was a politician, I was sworn in and all this stuff. When you represent the other humans, fellow humans, when they give you the trust, you got to give them the maximum of art engagement that you can do for the money. So it's not that I give them a Van Gogh exhibit. If Taylor Swift is if I get her for that money, and I can get more people of my community that I represent to watch Taylor Swift, I need to connect them with art, not with the highfalutin art where nobody goes, or or ballet or whatever. I need to get them because that's only for the elite. I have to connect as many people for that month. Everybody pays in. I want to give as much back to all those people. That's the human thinking of me. And nobody accepts that in any arts commission, as far as I know. They all want to make their name, their system relevant and have special people. But that's defeating the purpose. Art is for everyone, and it comes from everyone, and it is for everyone.
So as you struggled with that in your role there, what was a highlight for you? Where was the greatest success, or the thing that brought you the most
My greatest
joy?
success was that I made we built this, we're building a sculpture garden. And my greatest success that I really was, actually, before I went to the Arts Commission, I was already champion this, rotating sculptures. Because not by static, that's very systematic, just get a expensive art piece and have it. And I said, get less expensive and rotate it, because it keeps them alive. And we got 3 or 4 awards already for our sculpture garden because also you create art history. So you get all these photos from different artists at different periods. And then when somebody looks up the sculpture garden of Newport Beach, he or she can see, oh my God, they have a history of this. Oh my God, look at what they had. And or look at the progression. They started really, very wobbly, but then look how they created that. And it is probably the change of it to get more people expressing themselves is the strongest part of that sculpture garden. It's every 2 years, it's rotated. And I'm really proud of it. I didn't see it that strong when I was arts commissioner, but I see it now that was actually, that's awareness. What awareness does, you're not aware in the moment, and all of a sudden you look back, you get 2020, and all of a sudden, oh, that was actually, it was a little thing. Because I would jump in and I asked, my first meeting was when they actually elected a new chairman to the Arts Commission. And I wanted to be the chairman. They're all laughing at me. They said, "What, you haven't been one? You can't be." I said, "I do it, And of course I was laughed out of the room, basically. But I can't. This is not a blame. This is an unawareness. I blame nobody. I don't blame anybody for not. But an unawareness, and that's why I say we gotta make people aware with our podcasts, which I think is a great tool for that. But people always want to say, okay, we're going to give you a forum and then you can sell your stuff. I've not sold anything. I've done 150 interviews. I've done 150 interviews already. I'm not looking for selling. I'm coming to have an experience like with you guys,
Yeah.
And, it's still awesome.
Yeah, it's really amazing having you here. And can I ask another question about your experience there?
Keep going. I have all the time for you.
Curiosity is about what was the most challenging aspect of being part of the Newport Art Commission?
The most challenging to be in the Arts Commission was the unawareness. How can you convince somebody that isn't an artist? Also, I think there's people that are not artists in there. How can you convince or open them up? I'm not saying I don't want ballet. I don't say I want I don't want classical concepts, but how can you make them see what their function? I think that was the best. It comes where I talk about making them aware what it is what is their purpose. That I said, you taking money from everyone, and you're an arts commission. That doesn't think you are a fine arts, whatever, expresser or promoter. You are the arts commission. That means you need to connect, and this is what they didn't see. That was the biggest failure that I couldn't convey. I couldn't connect. They couldn't see that the connection to art, because I know that when I was little, I watched comics, and I listened to the Beatles, for example, or Rolling Stones, yeah. And then I ended up listening to John Coltrane, Miles Davis, and read poem and poetry. The Power of One or something. I got that arc, but that wouldn't come if I wouldn't be connected with the Beatles and Mickey Mouse first. You see that, and that's why it's such an arrogance to say there's better art or not. Aesthetics is a muscle that you discover, and that's why I say you start little and you more and more, and you don't have to force it. It's so natural. Art is such a natural, loving energy that wants nothing but being created. It doesn't want to be famous. It doesn't want to be. So when kids make a finger painting, and then you put the Rembrandt next to it. The Rembrandt is a nice Rembrandt. It has all the detail, all the skill, everything. But you look at the finger painting and you start crying of your kids. And that's the human relevance. See, that's not the system. In system relevance, Rembrandt is, because there's only 5, how many Rembrandts there is, left. It's like a commodity, and everybody wants that commodity. That's why when you're dead as an artist, you're worried, because they know, there's only so many works here, and we can price them, and we can check up the price.
So, follow-up question. A lot of your life was inspired by a proximity to the ocean, and you continue to have that as a part of your life, I assume. What do you think the relationship between the crashing of the waves and the land meeting the sea, what do you think that does for you and for your art?
Super interesting question. Because I'm not, even though I'm always at the beach, I'm not at the beach. I'm not walking the beach. I'm not going into the water. I think it's the energy that helps me, being, all the elements are in harmony, balance. For me, balance is everything. I mean, it's for everyone. I mean, that's the most powerful thing. If you want to look at, nature, it brings it always in balance, everything. So the dinosaurs died out, it keeps going. If the humans die out, it keeps going. So it keeps adjusting. So I think it was that, but I lived inland for 2 years in Laguna Woods, and I love that. I love that. That is all green, the mountains. So I don't know if I was. I'm not saying it's not a conscious thing to be on the earth, on the sea. It's not a conscious choice. It just puts me. It gets me. I'm aware. I'm not in charge of my life. I'm just going with what gets me.
Awesome.
I could end up somewhere else. It's just wherever it gets me, it gets me.
All right. Well, I think what we're going to do now is play one more song as we leave the conversation. This song is Drive Trance. I want to say thank you so much, Michael. This has been a tremendous joy for me and an inspiration that I will remember you and what it means to be an artist in all of the ways that I do that. Any last words, Greg, before we play the song?
No, thank you, Michael.
Anytime, guys. We can have that anytime again, and you can have more questions, but the better questions, the more I like it.
Awesome.
I love it. Thanks again, Michael.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for giving me a canvas.
I love that. Yes, breathe.
There's something about the repetition. There's something about repetition.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice nuance in there too. The energy, the emotion.
But like me, it's a lot of energy.